Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to our live interview for today. We haven't done any of these publicly for a while, and I'm extra excited to have Michael Thompson with me today. I will sound a bit cringe, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong, Michael. um, I will say Michael is one of my longest writing friends, and he's been a great friend, advisor on my journey, and I'm really just excited to have you here. Thank you for taking time and giving us an insight into your journey, into your uncommon way of presenting yourself and sharing your work online. I'm thrilled to have you here today.
I'm really excited to be back in the studio with Miss Sinem, and I'm not going to correct you if I'm but in terms of roles switching, like Sinem, like it's interesting that the two of us hooked up maybe 5 years ago, and like the first time I spoke with her, I asked her like, "What do you want to do?" Like, and she was 20 at the time. Like, it could have been 6 years ago, and she was 20 at the time, and her stance was like, "Give people more confidence." And I was like, holy cow, like just right off the bat, like I was like I'm 46 and I still have trouble like answering that question. And she's been like, I like the purity of storytelling and writing, like, but I also need to know how to earn a living online. So Cinnam's been like, we've switched roles, I feel like, whereas like maybe I helped her out at the onset, but she's turned into my like Yoda for online writing since.
I actually pulled up a screenshot. I'll publish that soon. I think I just used it for a workshop recently. It was the very first note you left on one of my Medium articles, which led to us connecting, which led to honestly me connecting with so many other writers. And I think that's one of your secret like superpowers, is actually connecting people with each other and building that sense of community with people behind the scenes, which eventually leads to people loving you for who you are and wanting to support you when you do great stuff like publishing your very first book or just having other projects going on. And I think I think that's just a really refreshing conversation to have, because a lot of the conversations we have when we talk about how do you get more attention as a writer online, it's how do you promote yourself, how do you publish more, how do you promote more, etc. And you don't really do any of those things. You've been offline for the past year. You've written a book. Now your book is almost like it's
a couple of days
in so many people's hands so soon. And let's talk about how you do what you do and how others can embrace that, I'll say ease, but also just like different approach. I think it's really important for writers to note that there is like, you can show up using your natural strengths and your personality traits. And I think that's what you did so well for so long. And I would love this conversation to encourage others to just go a bit inward and be confident in how they want to show up, because there are a million different coaches and experts telling you what to do and how to do it. But eventually you can do it your way, and you can do it without being loud and annoying like you prove. So
that's the key, I think, is like it helps like somebody, Jake Dagny, like who we were connected with in a group a while back. He had messaged me one day and he was like, I got it. I know why you're able to move fast online. Like, and he was like, you lived the first 35 years of your life without a phone. So that like the first thing was like the age, like it does help. Like I know what my values are. I kind of know how I best operate. Like I have stories from not having a phone, but at the same point, like being married, my wife would disown me if I was publishing stuff that didn't reflect who I am. It's like it's almost like she is like, for me, I wouldn't do it anyway, just because writing online is an extension of like my life and way of being. And I don't want to have to cut corners to make a living doing it. Like you can take a job at a bar or teaching English, whatever it is, to make your living. But for me, like writing has always been just something like my place, just to be honest. And the age and like values and all that kind of like I didn't have that journey of figuring out who I am while I'm writing. So that sped things up. But in terms of standing, like the promotion side is like, it's really interesting is like, I like writing, but I don't wake up like dying to write every day. And there's a lot of my friends who do, like, who can just get that, like stay at home all day and like literally write thousands of words. And I just can't, like, I'm like more of a reflective writer than just sitting down and like inspiration hitting me. But like into my writing journey, I was like, I got bored doing it alone. So I think the smartest things I did in the beginning is I like each week I reached out to one new person whose writing I connected with. I publish like one article a week for 5 years, maybe twice, 10, maybe 2 weeks out of 5 years I did 2. And the third is I edited somebody else's article for free. So I did those things behind the scenes, like, and that helped to make friends, made writing a lot less boring, and I was getting help on my own stuff like at the same time, so I was improving. Like, and that worked for me. It had community, it had creativity, it had collaboration. All of those things were kind of already in, like, that's how I've operated since like my first year. Like, and I'm not going to change that just because it is how I best operate. But it's fun to figure out that stuff out. Like, once you get the collaboration bug, like, it's kind of like you understand that. For me, I view creativity as collaboration and bashing ideas together, and other people are important. You know, like, it's kind of a thing where we can't stay in our caves all day, but it makes it a lot more fun and sustainable.
Yeah. And still, even if you collaborate, at the end of the day, there has to be someone on the other end of the screen actually wanting to read what you write. Like, even if you have 50 people sharing your work, if the third person doesn't want to read it, they're not going to read it, even if you tell them to read what great article your friend has written, right? Why do you think your work has or does resonate with so many people in so many different ways? I think we've seen it again now on Substack, where, like, you know, you've been getting a lot of flowers from people who didn't know who you are, who didn't read any of your work before, and suddenly they saw what you're creating and they were like, this resonates, I love it, it just feels right. And I think there is just a sense of honesty, like you already mentioned. What else do you think has helped you actually connect with so many people by sharing what you think and what you experience day to day?
I write like it's contradictory, and it is important to sometimes write for an audience. It depends like what your goals are, but I write for me first. Like if I'm not feeling something, is like, you know me, is like, if I have to like write something for work, you know, I'm paralyzed for a month. So it is really something, if I'm not feeling it, I'm not writing it. Like, and generally if I feel something, like, some other human being like across the globe is going to feel it also. But generally, like, that inspiration has to strike. Like, and I'm someone who's like been writing less the more I'm writing. Just because it is like, it's not like that feeling, I can't just manufacture it. And like, when I started, like, I had a lot of past feelings, like the things that really hit me, and like growing up shy, stuttering, stories from like feeling embarrassed, fear, all this kind of stuff. So the honesty, like, in those stories really helps. Like, and my stories aren't like from good to great, like it's more from like awful to not that bad. So it's really like relatable. But in terms, like, I always write for me first. Like, and it, like, anytime that I have to do the opposite, I really struggle. Like, and just that feeling, if I, like, a lot of my stories are reflective in nature, so like I'll write them 6 months after the fact. like, and I'll have like I take a lot of notes. So if I'm not writing every day, I'm like, my notebooks are like chicken scratch, like of just keywords, ideas. Um, but generally, if I'm watching something in the world, like, and something hits me, like, oof, like my job is to capture that moment for myself, like first, but by me capturing it, other people can then experience it. So my job as a writer is to kind of shape it. Like once I have it down, I'll shape it for more readability than kind of impact. But I kind of know like what a good like when you write good stories, like I like to watch a lot of movies, and TV shows, music. Like I'll shape it after the product's done for other people. But it has to start with me, like, and then packaging it is what I think I'm best at. And that's something I think that's not like, it's not innate, but growing up shy, stuttering, like, is like, I wasn't talking to people. I was observing and watching them, like, and I got to see like what people like, what they don't like, turn ons, turn offs. So when I began writing, that just kind of flew out, like it almost felt natural, like, hey, like this is what someone would like more than this. But that came from just kind of being in awe of people and watching them, seeing what they respond to. I worked in sales too, so I kind of have these not manipulation things in my head, but just kind of is like I know the tricks, like I know what feels good to me, like what feels right. So just the presentation factor, it's more just shaping it at the end, like for other people. But the seed is always like the honesty thing is the big thing for me, and being vulnerable, being open. Just because like we all have these fears, insecurities, times we're embarrassed, like, and that's what connects us all together. So we think we need to be like the 1980s version of a GI Joe figure of confident alpha, like I know the rules, listen to me. But most of the world doesn't like authority figures. So like it may work online, like those can go viral, taking a stance like you need to do this, like it does work. But for every person who doesn't like that, there's a million people who don't. Like not a million, but you know what I mean? Like, and then the people who do just be like, hey, I don't have everything figured out. Here's my experience. Here's what I learned. Here's what the people around me taught me. There's just been like many people who are open to that take than there is like the more it's like you need to do this angle.
Yeah. I think, well, let me ask you, why do you think is it so hard to trust in those stories that you have, that you personally believe in, but you don't like a lot of writers I talk to and I work with, they really struggle to present those life experiences and their own stories in a way that feels good to them and that still connects with an audience, right? When I review those kinds of stories, the biggest issue I usually see is some form of confusion. Like either you are saying too many different things, or
Yeah.
you are not being fully honest. You're trying to kind of trim it down to make it applicable to more people. Did it always feel natural to you how
No.
you would present the story? Like you have so many of those tiny stories, but they are part of like big lessons that you would share, right? Even when you talk about conversations with your wife, like it's you always you specify one very specific dialogue you had,
Yeah.
but the lesson behind that dialogue is so much bigger and applicable to so many other situations.
That's the fun, because you take like most of my like inspiration from articles is like one sentence, one small thing somebody did, like one observation. And how do you put that into like 700 or 800 words? Like, and I like, for me, I have a designer friend here. He's got small symbols with big meaning is his thing. Like, and he has like really simple design that's beautiful and it means more than what it stands for. I think that we connected because I kind of do the same with stories, and I like the simplicity of it. But it took some time. Like I had my first story-driven article was like a big story of how I lost $250,000 in one phone call. I went broke, like all these things, like bad things happened. And I wrote that in like 700 words, like 800 words. But what that took me a year, like when I started to write, like I wanted to tell that story immediately, but I wasn't good. Like I knew I wasn't good enough for it. So like I had that in the back burner for 2 years, probably and then like in draft form for probably 6 months. So I was chipping away at 800 word article. First it was like 3,000 words, like, and I just like kept cutting and cutting and cutting. And then I worked with an editor at Forge who's now with the LA Times, like, and she, like, that was the benefit of kind of telling honest stories, is like editors at Medium began to reach out like, hey, like we want to work with you on some of this stuff. So she gave me tips on just basically everything I started with. Was Nick Goki, like, was huge in the beginning for me. So as people, like my first story, some of my favorite story about a peach and a boy in a park bench, that note of being on the park bench with the peach, like, was in one of my first articles. And I rewrote it 3-4 years later. And again, it was 600 words, and it won like the 2021 top 20 article of the year at Medium. Like, it's 600 words about a peach, a park bench, and a 5-year-old. Like, there's nothing big about it. But I had that working, like that sentence of the peach, the boy, like the park bench was in my head. Like, it was in an article, like a physical article when I started. So that, like I think that people want stuff now, and it like looks easy to people. For me still, if I write an article, like, it doesn't matter if it's 600 words or 1,000, like it takes me 12 hours. So that's the shaping like of that. That's the work. And like a lot of people, like right now I'm struggling on Substack with notes. Like, how do you respond fast enough? Just because like I like to take my time and I move slowly with it. So that's one thing, is just grab a couple stories and like have them working in the background. Get people to look at it. Like, what's good, what's bad. Like, generally, like I have a thing above articles, like, when a reader's done with this, I want them to feel X. Or if it's more of a how-to, like, I want them to do Y, right? Like, what is that North Star? Like, what is the one major theme of the article? Like in funneling everything to that. So if you look at a 600 word article or a 900 word article, the first 300 or so is just the buildup, right? Like, and then it's the point, the development of the point, the takeaway of the point. So like just about every story is a 3-act play, right? So it's like, if you break it down into those pieces, like start with your introductions. Like, I always say to start there, just because it, like, the hook factor is important. But that story of the park bench, it starts with my kid and I just walked to a market in our town. Like, you know, like there's no hook, like, but developing it, like I got like it kind of rising through the intro, and the hook started in the beginning of the second act. So I could play with stuff. Like, I knew how to move stuff around. Like, and that's the fun of it for me, is it's like, it's a puzzle. Like, and it's working with people in collaboration. My wife reads stuff, and I like she won't read it out loud in front of me, just so I can watch her body language. So when she comes to certain parts and she's scrolling, like, if she's not reacting to what I think she's going to react to, is like, I know I have to rework something. So it's just like, I move slow, like I do those silly things, you know, but that's what makes it, like, I'm a mess. If you see, like, it looks clean behind me, like, and I write about a simple life, like my desk is a disaster. But with my words, I'm a perfectionist. Like, I grew up stuttering, I sucked at them, and writing, like, is my chance to get them right. And I may take too long sometimes, but that's what gives me the most energy, is like fixing a sentence right at the end in the 10th hour is like, like, that's it. And usually that sentence is it. So I know it's that like I can feel it. That's kind of a long, like esoteric answer, but it is a like the system, like the work is the win for me.
I'll say one thing before I go into actually sharing a few thoughts. What you said about the park bench sentence being there for so long before it turned into its own piece.
Yeah.
I know this is what Taylor Swift does.
Yes.
There was a part of a video, a documentary probably, where she basically explains there are certain phrases she has in her notes app or whatever. Like
Patchwork.
she comes up with that phrase, and like, I don't know, 5 years later, there is the album, there's the song that
Meet
like
you
where
at the
this
mall.
exact phrase fits in. And that there's such a different pleasure in placing those even individual sentences, and sometimes it's entire stories, but sometimes it's a sentence. Like you have it in your mind for so long, and then it's like, this belongs here.
Yeah, like, and it's home. All right. Yeah.
When something like that happens to me, I'm so proud, and I feel like I'm in awe of how my brain works, and of the fact that I remember that this was there and it belongs here now, especially when it's been years, like between coming up with the idea and placing it in the right spot. And
I'm dying to say, I'm dying to say that the phrase was "meet me at the mall" from Taylor Swift.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah. And it was. This is a really great point that you're getting at. Like, and in that documentary, Americana. Not that I listen to Taylor Swift or anything, except I do every day. Her writing partner talked about the patchwork she did in that song of patching together ideas. And my brain does not move fast. I have a very average IQ. I'm a feeler. I'm not a thinker. But I collect those phrases and sentences. And when you can patch them together, that really is, like you said, it's a massive buzz. Like, it's like I made this thing. Like, it's a puzzle and I finished it, So let's talk about Taylor Swift more.
That's what
that documentary, though, is a really great insight on storytelling. And she's you can call her whatever you want, but she's a hell of a storyteller. And that documentary is a really great resource of how the artist brain works. And how she stays true to herself from start to finish.
Yeah. And I'll just put the song into the chat for anyone who wants to check the exact song. But I think there's a lot, like the one huge reason why like Taylor Swift stuff resonates is because it is story based, right? She has this 10-minute song, almost 11-minute song, which is 11 minutes of like lyrics. It's basically a story that she's telling about how she had this boyfriend when she was young, and she left her scarf at his family's place, and then how this whole story unfolded. And when and then you have like stadiums with tens of thousands of people knowing every single word of this song by heart. It's part of that is because it's easy to remember, because it's a story that makes sense, because we like the storyline makes sense. And like you can memorize it, you can visualize it, which is, I mean, that's part of your what is easy to follow in your stories is when you say you've been sitting on that park bench with your 5-year-old son. I have a picture in my mind.
Yeah, like it's very visual. It's simple. It's like it's so easy to visualize. Yeah,
exactly. And also with the giraffe, right? When you had this story about how your son wanted to draw a giraffe without a neck, and you have the visual, like you actually have a photo of it too. it's easy to understand and follow, which a lot of people I think underestimate, because you want to sound smart, you want to sound different, you end up sounding confusing and confused. And part of that, even when you are building all that momentum and the audience slowly and quietly, to a certain extent you're building credibility and authority, even if those are words that you hate and you don't want to look at it that way. It's like, it's some variation of that, right?
Yeah.
And if you sound confused, it's very hard to sound credible or sound sure about what you're saying. And I think that's like, when you are rewriting a sentence over and over again until it feels right, what happens is that it feels clear.
Yeah.
It like sounds like you.
That's what I was trying to say all along. Like, oh, I got it. Like, like it's that feeling. But that's a really great point of wanting to sound smart. Just because if you keep it simple, it relates to everybody, like too. And it's like, it's not a stature game online. And that, like I kind of hate the advice of write at a 5th grade level, just because I don't want to have 5th grade conversations with people. Like, I have kids, like I have enough of that. So I want to be challenged when I'm reading, but at the same time, like, I'm not someone who's going to cure cancer in my writing, like maybe through smiles and laughter, but not like, is like, I don't have an advanced degree. I'm not a PhD. I like simple things. Like, I like finding like a speck of beauty in chaos kind of thing. And not being afraid to kind of, like, I feel stupid sometimes in conversations with advanced writers. Like I've met some people just the last year or two who write on topics that I'm like I haven't, like, I wouldn't even know how to open a book on that topic. But that doesn't mean I don't belong in that room. And what they're jealous of generally is what I do. And I always just thought that I was kind of like the average C student in class, and these guys were the honor roll, plus they're generally tall and good looking also. Like, and it's like, but in reality, it's like what all of us do, like natural, like our natural, like not natural strengths, because like we have to work on them, like, but working on our strengths is like, we're able to do stuff that other people can't do as well, like, and vice versa. Like, and not seeing that as a competition or like a chest thumping thing, like, is really important. Like, and what I get compliment, like I started online 6 months ago on LinkedIn, like a couple posts a week, maybe. So I took off 2.5 years almost, to help with clients' books and my own. And I was really nervous, just like, how do you start again? Like, and I felt really stupid, like the things that I was like, I went away and I like learned how to write, like, and then I came back and I was like, what, like, I still have these simple stories to tell. It's not like my stories got more elaborate. So I always felt kind of stupid. And what's happened on like LinkedIn, like, it's kind of the cool kids in my high school and university have reached out, like, who work at law firms, they're doctors. They've reached out, like, I can't, but like, thank you for doing what you do. Like, it's so refreshing. Like, it's so like I, just about everything I write resonates with them. Like, and they're also like the courage you have to just publish online is incredible. So we think like just showing up is kind of like, you're already in the, like, you're already doing what 99% of people are scared to do. And then the next step is just trying to be yourself online. Like, and it's hard because like, you want to you want to grow and have a different mask depending on the day. But generally, like my little peach article and a water article, like I get my clients come from those, not my big massive story or listicles. Like, and me like realizing that, like, hey, like, not like, they aren't for everybody, but it's enough for me to make a living as a writer, work with really interesting people. Like, and it gives me permission to just do what I do. And anytime that I'm stuck, it's because I'm trying to be someone I'm not. Like, and I get stuck. Like, you talk to me on the phone, I'm stuck right now promoting a book. So it's kind of like there's never a finish line for it. There's an expression that our friend Nick Wolney shared. He's like, new levels, new devils. So I feel like like in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm publishing a book. I have some cool endorsements. I need to be someone I'm not now. And the reality is, whenever I do anything good online, like now, it's when I get rid of that feeling, like it disappears for a couple hours. But it comes back every time I publish, like, this isn't smart enough. But the lesson every time is, once I shed that and go simple, that's what works.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of conversations earlier this year about like imposter syndrome. I think it was a webinar or something, and I had someone asking like, do you ever face imposter syndrome? Do you ever feel like something that you publish might not be good enough? And it's so funny because it's literally what I feel all the time. And it's just, I like what I do enough to just push beyond that feeling like all the time. Like there's a certain joy that comes with publishing and putting myself out there, but it doesn't mean it feels like there's nothing at stake, or that I know people are going to like it, or that my article is going to make sense, because you like there's always this matter of, what if all the other, like everything I've done so far was like, I was just lucky and it like reached the right people, and actually I'm not really good at what I'm doing, and people are going to find out at some point. And I think it's just the honesty that you can be afraid and you can feel uncomfortable sometimes, and you can still keep going and keep trying your best, and the feedback you get and the progress you make, it's going to make you feel better and make you more comfortable and confident about what you're doing. And I feel it's normal that those feelings, they just keep coming back when you're human, and when you don't have a huge shield around you, and you are you are thinking very highly of yourself. It's just part of being human.
I do a thing of like, you know how like nerves and excitement are the same feeling in the body?
Yeah.
With like, it's the same with being a worrier, not warrior, and a carer, right? Like you worry about the things you care about the most are the same things you worry about the most. So I generally, like, my self-talk, for me to hit publish, like I still call like an hour before this to publish an article on Substack, I called a friend, Will Miles, and was like, I need you on the phone. Tell me to hit publish. Like, and I'm 45. like, but I need that. Like, and I think it's the thing of caring that makes it stand out, and being scared of the response, like not scared of the response. It's more like, I feel great after I publish, just so I can like listen to my wife and kids again, like, because I'm so in my head of like, oh my God, I'm a fraud. This thing sucks. Like everyone is going to see through the facade, that I will like I'm a despondent husband and father for like the 24 hours prior to a publish date. But that is like the pushing through, like putting yourself out into the world, like it's petrifying. Like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with you feeling that way. I'm almost more scared for the people who want to, like, everything wrong with the world is from someone who's confident, who doesn't know their values, you know, like, and if you're excited, like to say, this is me, there's usually like a really big underlying problem, or you're just kind of a psychopath, I think. I don't know. It's just the opposite of it. Like, I don't want to say psychopath, but it's just so opposite of how I feel and experience the world. And I have friends who are charismatic and outgoing, and it really works. Like it works for them because it is them. But it doesn't work for me because it's not me. So I view it like as like, poof, like a huge like separation, but in reality, it's just the way two people operate. But I get the scaredness factor. Like, I'm more petrified now. Like, I have a book coming out now, and it's kind of like, I've never felt this kind of like fear in my life, I don't think. Like, and it's exciting that like I have a publisher, like, and a big reason why is because I had to have a deadline. If not, I wouldn't have finished it or done it. But I had to hit markers, and the date is coming no matter what. So I better get used to it. But the fear is very real. Like, and I think that that's good, that it means you care about your work and you want it, like you want it to resonate. Like, and it's going to feel great Tuesday night. Yeah.
And like the funniest thing about your fear with the whole book process is, yes, it's your first book that you're publishing, but you have worked on so many different books with your clients. Like, you've been through the process several times. You know how it works. You know what people are doing, what happens behind the scenes. And still, this is so different, right? When it's your own book, there's a certain attachment to it. I'd actually love to talk about the book a bit more, because I think the whole process of how it came together for you in your own mind is really interesting. And then also, like, what you're doing right now is really interesting, because you are basically torn between how loudly do I want to promote this book, right?
Yeah.
Like, how hard do I want to push the promotion and social media buttons, and how much do I go into just trusting that it will, like, the right people will promote it for me, share it for me. What I also find really interesting is how you got an endorsement from Cal Newport, like a huge author whose books are read by so many people, which again was really just the human connection and the humanness of quietly reaching out to the right people, building relationships in silence for a long time. Talk to me about how that process looked like, what that process looked like for you. And I'm already going to drop the link of the book into the chat for anyone who wants to check it out.
Yeah, I'll do the Cal Newport's law. Like, I'm expecting an email from his attorneys like a couple of days after the book's out to say, why is my client's name on here? Okay,
that's what you did.
First thing, what I did is I got offer, like, an agent reached out to me maybe in 2020. I want to say it's been 5 years. And I was like, yes, I'm in. And then, like, the next day I sat down to, like, write a book proposal, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I froze. That, like, the next day, same thing. 6 months later, same thing. Year later, same thing. And what actually helped me write my own book, which is very different. Like, it hurts my head for a 600 to 900 word article. It takes me a long time. And I was like, how am I going to do this? I had a new book, like, I had 2 young kids in the house. And what the smartest thing I did is, a client had reached out to me, like, I like what you do. Teach me how to write the way you do. And I got on the phone. We worked together on a few articles, like, and I was like, dude, like, you have a book. Like he's a big wig guy, really charismatic. And he just needed, like he needed someone that, it's like, I called him on a Tuesday afternoon. I was at the beach, and I was just like, what the, like, I was like, we're wasting time on articles. And he was like, all right, well, I want you to be my book coach. And I was like, I've never written a book. And he was like, great, beginner's eyes. We both have no idea what we're doing, but we're both smart. So let's do it our way. And that really helped. Like, and then I worked on 3 other books and some other advising on others. And so I started to write my book, like my actual book, probably 2.5 years after I was working on, like 2 years after I had been working with clients. And I couldn't have written my book prior to working with other people first. They taught me how to, like I got paid to kind of learn how to write books, and the books have done well. Like, we got agents, representation, publishing house deals, but that really helped, of actually, like, seeing the behind the scenes. I spoke with the publishers. I was on marketing calls, and that gave me the confidence, like, seeing how they were patching together their book. Like, Taylor Swift is, like, for my topic, it's like, the title of the book here, I'll do a little plug. This will be it on plugs. Shy by Design, 12 Timeless Principles to Quietly Stand Out. This feels so like me, but it took so long to get that idea chiseled down. But I already had the time. Like for me, it's my lived experience. Like I already had articles on it. The book is not just a collection of articles, but I had it's like I had ideas. I had like short stories. So all of that collection process of writing for a few years really, really helped. Then getting involved, like if you have a friend who wants to write a book, like offer just to be a free editor on it, or you like just highlight the key phrases that you think are good or something's bad, just to see how it's developing. It's like I think a lot of first time authors are like, it's like I want to write a book, like, and then they start to write a book and it goes on for like 10 years, like, and it's because you're spinning, like you can learn the structure and basics not by yourself. Yeah. So that really helped. And it's a piece of advice that I know people don't want to hear, is like help someone else for 2 years, like, and then go do your book. But that was my timeline. Like, and my agent was really cool of like, hey, I think you have a great story. I love your writing. Like no pressure, no time thing, like when you're ready to go. And I called her like a year and a half ago and I was like, I'm ready. And I wrote my book. I think the process has been years, but I wrote my book. The draft that my publishing house was like, we don't have any feedback for, like, this is really good, in 90 days, 120 days. So the actual writing of it was like, it flew by just because like I had taken time. I knew the structure of the book. I knew how to write other people's books. So the writing part, like, I think if I was going to write another book now, if I had the idea for it, like I see why Ryan Holiday can do a book a year. Like, and I used to think that was absolutely crazy.
Will you do it too?
No, like, no, I'm not Ryan Holiday. But it is a thing, like you see the process, how it's done. Like I'm not a formula writer, like, and it doesn't have to be a formula, but there are certain things, like once you know your story spine in your book, and I did a listicle, like my book's like it's 12 points, like it's a listicle. I'm starting easy and I'm starting smart of like, hey, like I can write 4,000 words on 12 points. So it kind of took me a while. That's another thing though. I wanted to be smart, like, and not have a listicle book. And it was just like, why the hell wouldn't I? Like, what books aren't listicle? Like Robert Greene's a hell of a writer. Ryan Holiday, his books are listicles. Like it's the same thing. And like, they're just longer listicles. So I kind of, but that listicle process, like, I think I said this in our like last call, is like, do listicles. Like if you're starting to write, get your thoughts. Like if you have a topic of X, like get 6 thoughts down on it. Like you're allowed to do that. Like it's not you being stupid doing that at all. I think it's being really, really smart, collecting your ideas. Most of my articles, like my story form stuff, are from some point, like the peach thing. Like it was a bullet point. It was a point like in a listicle of 5 things that I expanded on. Like, and I could write a book maybe even about that topic of, you know, stopping and appreciating the world.
Yeah, I love how you, like, even with your journey into helping people with their books, how it started with you not being an expert on how to write or publish books. I think a lot of people really underestimate how you can give feedback on someone's writing without being an expert on writing, but it's basically read it and tell them if it clicks, if it makes sense, if it, like, how it makes you feel, and what you get out of it. It's also what, like, we have a comment from Michelle saying that's why this group is so important to me. Can't do this writing thing alone. Like Michelle, Laura, and David, they're all members in our membership in Write Build Scale, and what we do there is basically we give each other feedback. Like we encourage our members to put their drafts up there and to give feedback to each other. And it's not just me giving feedback, but them giving it to each other, even if they, like, even if someone has not published anything online ever, like you've been reading your whole life, you can tell
that's better sometimes
if you like what you read, if it resonates, if it's clear, if it makes you laugh, if it makes you think, if it's smart, if it sounds weird. And you don't need a professional editor to edit your work if you want to
No,
write for an audience online. But you might need friends to help out, right? Like, you might not need them, but they're really useful and helpful.
I had test readers on mine, like who are readers, not like I had an editor friend who was just like a guy who was just going to yell at me, like, and I was paying him for that. Like, this is shit. Like, this is repetitive, played out. Start again, start again, start again. Like, and then I had test readers, like, and every time my editor said start again, this is shit, the test readers would say, like, after I figured it out, they would always be like, oof, this is the best story in the book. Like, so he was always right with it, but you don't have to be an expert. Like imagine if I had Ryan Holiday for my book editor, he would teach me how to write like a book for Ryan Holiday. That can be a bad thing. Like, the whole thing of the like, I think that there's 3 different types of experts. And I talk about this in the book of who you should listen to. And sometimes the expert who did the thing you want to do, like, they may be like uber successful, but they're going to teach you, like, a lot of the time how to do it their way. Like, and sometimes somebody who's just kind of obsessed with it, but not as good, like, is a great coach or teacher, just because they're fighting to come in 7th place. Then you get someone who's a research, like, expert, who's just like upset, like not doing it as much at all, but like obsessed with the topic. Like, in those different kinds of, like, it's different strokes for different folks, but generally, like, I don't want kind of an expert to tell me what I should be doing. Kind of in general, just like, I want a coach, I don't want an expert. And like, I want a coach who's going to guide me. And I want somebody who's going to pop in and say, like, and be brutally honest. For editing groups, like my friends at, like, I started with Nick Wignall, like Nick Goki and Brian Penny, like, and Stephen Moore, maybe 6 years ago now, 7 years ago, like, it's like high school and half of college. Like, and we were really just kind of basic in the beginning, like, this sentence is good, like, amplify it somehow, like, this one sucks, get rid of it, this is confusing, clarify it. Like, again, we were really nice to each other in the beginning. Like, and then after a month or two, it was just like, this is shit. This is, like, like, and it wasn't about the person at all. It was like the product, the thing you're working on. So if you were to, like, eavesdrop on my client calls, you would think that we're brutal enemies. Like, we're yelling at each other and, like, fighting over ideas. And for every like editing suggestion, like, and not just like commas and stuff, but like structural editing, I would maybe accept half, just because I knew what, like, is like, hey, like, that's like, I see what they're saying there, but I like my way more. Like, and that's fine. I used to kill all of my like Brian and Nick would always highlight, like, my darlings, like, and be like, this is shit, cut it. Like, and I was like, no, wait, no, I don't think that's shit. So I would keep like, and I would cut them, like, my first months, I would cut all of them. And then, like, over time, I have an editor now who says the same thing. And I'm like, that's actually a line that was highlighted like 400 times on an article. Like, like, and it's kind of like, they have their thing of what's good. So knowing what's good for you and sticking to it, and just getting a group of people who you can really yell at and then get a beer with after and laugh at. Yeah.
I think what your editor won't know, especially if they're new to working with you, is the experience you have with your audience.
Yeah.
And it's less about, like, thinking about the audience as like this entity that belongs to you and that owes you their gratitude for your work, but it's this bigger understanding of the people who love my work. They have something in common. They like it for certain reasons and for a certain voice and style that I'm bringing to the table. And your editor, he might not know that, just because he doesn't have the experience of having those conversations and being in your comment sections and knowing what has been highlighted a couple 100 times on an article you published like years ago. And I think it's always a balancing act of knowing like trusting in yourself and your
yourself.
gut feeling and the experience you have, but being open to listening to other people's feedback. Like
It's everything.
getting
Huh?
yeah, right, getting feedback is a privilege in itself, because it's not easy to find people who give you feedback in the first place. But ultimately you decide based on so many different factors and all those experiences you have gathered. Maybe you have data and information on your audience, maybe you don't, but you always have a gut feeling, and you should have at least a sense of, what do I want to sound like? Who do I want to be? What do I want to communicate? I would love to take the final minutes to ask you to share with us one idea that you are using to quietly promote your book. You're like Michael Thompson style. Like, what is one thing you're doing that you think is not so common? It's controversial or just not very popular. It's not the typical book promotion advice that people give, that you are doing and that you believe is actually helping you.
So it's taken me a while, but yeah, unfortunately I'm getting in a role now and the book's out in a couple of days. So like I could have come upon these revelations 6 months ago. But the big thing is like there's two things, and the first one's quick, is I write stories, and instead of self promotion of like the typical is like I have X coming out now, I'm writing story based posts. And usually like in my stories is like the book's about me, like the story has my name on it, but like I generally always have another hero in my own hero's journey. So like it could be my kid said something smart, wife, boss, whatever it is. I'm more comfortable kind of deflecting, like what is like I'll shine the spotlight on somebody else in my own story, like, and I still get some of the rays from the spotlight from doing that. So that really helps me to do it because it's not about me. And the second thing is I went to Substack probably a month ago, and it was a Saturday morning, and I was like, and I was writing like for the first time in a while, I felt free writing. Like, and I wrote this thing, like, and I showed it to my wife. Like, and it's about the struggle of self-promotion. It's like I signed a book deal, it comes out in a month. I used to smile, I'm not smiling now. I'm petrified, like my wife's mouth moves, I don't hear anything, my kids are jumping on me, I feel nothing. Like, and it was kind of humorous, but it was my real kind of experience. My wife read it, like, and she was like, I don't, like, I was like, I think this is really good, and she was like, I don't know. Like, and I sent it to some other people, like, and they were like, dude, like, this is really, like, this is what you would have been writing for the last 6 months if you weren't worried about having to promote a book. And the thing I wrote before I published it, like I had it, like it was my first Substack post, and I was going to title it like "Welcome to Shy by Design," like, or something like new publication. My friend Kevin, who like was a book writing client, was like, "Well, that's like, yeah, like who wants to read something called Welcome to My Publication?" And like it's like being in Istanbul and someone saying, "Come into my carpet shop." And I was like, that's a good point. He's like, no one wants to go in and like, you know, just keep walking by, you know? And he was like, you have some great lines in it, and take out one of your strongest lines, and that should be your title. Like, and I had a thing, like I've said it a lot, of the joy of writing for an audience of none, like the thing of where I'm just being honest, like in my writing. And what really worked with Substack is like people today are sick of self-promotion. A lot of writers who are on Substack don't like self-promotion. So it really spoke to like it resonated with like both writers and readers. Like there's a lot of people who don't want to have to yell on like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. They're sick of it. And the idea of making the stuff just you want to see in the world also is really like, it's really appealing to people. So that kind of opened my eyes a bit about like, why don't I just be honest of being scared to death of self-promotion? And that has actually helped us to promote my book more than anything. So it's kind of like the inverse, that like, I forget the word, but like I'm doing the opposite of what I should be doing, and it's standing out because of that. But my posts there have been really authentic. Is like my favorite one I wrote is like what it's like to promote a book when you have off the charts ADHD. And it's just like me, right? Like you read that one too, and like, and you were like, "I love this," and I was like, "It's not for Medium, though, is it?" And she's like, "No." But for Substack, it is. It's more artsy writing. It's more fun. It's more like dialogue. It's almost like a scene in a movie. Like it's fast paced, like bear type writing. And I wrote that. Like I edited that for 10 hours. I wrote it in an hour. And I played with it for 9 hours just because I loved playing with it. Like, and I love to connect, like bring in certain lines further below also. Like, and it's just basically like, I suck at this. And I'm having a hard time struggling to promote my book. By the way, here's a link to my book I'm struggling to promote. Like, and that has worked really, really well. And it feels really like my shoulders dropped significantly. Like as soon as I stumbled on that, like I don't have to act like I know what I'm doing here. So it's kind of the story of like, that's the story of basically my life in sales too. Like as soon as I stopped trying to be like the extroverted, charismatic, life got good. So that's been fun to kind of witness. And now I like a book launch is important, but like a book, if it's going to catch on, it's not just launch. So I know that like the next 2 years, I am like more confident in how I can creatively do me while promoting a book.
Yeah, and I think part of it also boils down to when you are not like when you don't feel so pressured to promote or to create in a certain way, you have more fun and you actually do have ideas that feel like you. I mean, what you posted with your kids unpacking the first batch of books with you, like you could have spend hours overthinking that video of like where your kids should stand, like what's the background, like what's the voice, like audio, lights, like how do they put the book in front of the camera for the first time and then record the video like 15 times, like those lifestyle influencers, right? And you like, it's so easy to compare what we are doing to what other people in other areas are doing, especially when you have something that's aesthetically pleasing, like a book that you're holding in your hands as well. But then it's like, okay, well, like why do you do that video at all? And the message behind that video that you had is just so different. You know, your kids unpacking your very first book with you, and that feels like you. It's authentic and it comes across because it is that way and because it's not a staged video. And it's the same with the photo that you took and the idea that you had, right? Do you want to share that? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna do like, if anyone buys the book, I'd love you forever if you did. Like, and if you shared it on like LinkedIn or anything, I would want a picture of it. What like I can't see me right now, so like of you blocking your face with the book. So it's like the whole shy theme. So I want, yeah, just the opposite. Like I started writing because I liked that authors' faces were on the back of the book. And now it's everything is kind of like out in front, personal brands. Like, and I like the idea of like, whoa, like why don't I just do the opposite? Like, and kind of have like my face not even visible, and readers. And I know a lot of people who don't want to do a selfie, like they're shy of selfies. Like, and it's like, well, great, here's a perfect excuse for you to get a picture without having to show yourself. You know? But for the record, though, that video that you saw was like take 73. No, I'm kidding. Like with kids and a wife, my wife is like, you got one shot at this. But in the video, though, I see it like is like half my face is shaven, I think, too. Like I'm in like book coma land. But yeah, it's kind of just the realness of it. Like that's the nice thing. Like once you just be like, I can get away with just being me. Like you kind of don't have to put on airs about all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of creating something that you can be proud of for so long, for so many years. And yes, the book launch, it's it's exciting and it's going to matter to a certain extent, but your book is not going to be gone after the initial launch, right? You're going to keep talking about it for years, decades. Hopefully your kids are going to be proud of it once they are beyond their teenage years and daddy is cool again. They might be proud of it, and they might share it with their shy friends. And I think that's like thinking about how hard it was to publish books years, decades ago, and now you have this opportunity to put your work out there on the internet, to connect with people, to get people to like what you're doing, and to practice until you feel like there is actually a book in all of that stuff that I've been saying for so long. I think that's beautiful and a privilege. And like, not everyone has to write a book, but having this opportunity and having the opportunity to do it step by step, to build relationships, to build a readership, but also to build those connections with other authors, with maybe marketers, with editors, with people who have different creative skills. I know David is in the chat with us. David Litwin is one of our members. He's a YouTube would probably get along really well. He's a designer. He has a branding agency. He's really creative. He is on top of AI image generation. Like, he has founded an AI modeling agency. So he had this brand agency where he would need to book models to do brand shoots, right? And now suddenly he's able to do an entire brand campaign without booking models because he's doing it with AI, and it's a whole different conversation, totally different challenges that he's facing now. Like, you meet those people online, right? When you talk about what matters to you and when you just authentically show up. And I mean, your book is available for pre-order now. That's what you told me. So the link is in the comments for anyone who wants to grab a copy. I cannot wait to have mine. I'm expecting a hand-signed copy. I already told you. So when my Amazon copy is going to arrive once it's available in Europe, but I expect a hand-signed one.
So, what's happening is the book is coming out in the US on Tuesday, and then it's available in UK, Europe on September 16th. It's a 2-month drag. But all pre-orders are good until, if you're in the US, and you order it today, you'll get it on Tuesday. And if you're in Europe, you just have to sit tight a bit. But the one quick thing, and it kind of rounds the conversation out, is the Cal Newport endorsement. That came up, I was talking to a friend who, I had a mastermind group, a group of writers, I'm not gonna say mastermind. It was more just us in a group together. And I kept in touch with just about everybody in the group after it. After COVID, I had the second kid, family things going on, and I closed the group. But I kept in touch with just about everybody there, and I'd have every quarterly or 6-month a fast call or WhatsApp messages. And one of the guys in the group, I expressed about, I was like, oh shit, I got to get endorsements. I'm petrified. How do I even do this? And he was like, oh, I'll connect you with Cal. And I was like, who the hell's Cal? And he's like, Cal Newport. And I was like, yeah, get the hell out of here. He was like, you didn't know I grew up with him? And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And sure enough, and it's I got an email from Cal, the connection email response was any friend of X is a friend of mine. Shoot it over. And Cal was the only person who I didn't have to follow up with about his endorsement date. I was like, are you going to have it by next Tuesday? And he was like, yep, I'm going to have it in on Friday. He was the only, and it was just that, but that all came apart. That all came together from just keeping in contact with people. In these little, in my book, I have a whole, some chapters on how to do that, without going crazy. But you can do voice messages. I've some friends who hate voice messages, and I have some friends who love them. So we keep in contact, with short things. If it's a birthday, I'll sing a song. My kids will sing a song in Catalan. So just small thing, a quick email. You don't have to reply back. Just thinking of you, and I saw this thing. But all of those touch points have really helped me to to get endorsements without having to really feel too awful about having to ask for endorsements. Like, and that's part of writing today. That's my marketing, is just kind of just that of just doing those things on a weekly basis. That saves me from having to do marketing campaigns and all this other stuff. The Cal Newport stamp on it for the right people is going to sell the book just as well, like, as me doing anything online in terms of pumping out articles for Forbes or something, you know?
Yeah.
So be good to people is the bottom line. And yeah, make the effort to keep in touch. Like, it's not that difficult. And like, and you know, the people who you want to stay in contact with, you feel a connection towards, and we have kids, we have responsibilities, all this stuff, but literally, like, find those moments instead of checking social media while waiting for a coffee. Send them, leave a voice message for someone.
I message you all the time. I do get back to people that matter to me now, but I think I think the most important message that I take from what you just said is also just be genuinely good to the people you get along with. Like, this is not, kiss asses. It's build friendships and connections with people who you think are doing cool stuff, and you just, you think it's nice what you're doing, and you get along and you have nice conversations. I think there's a lot of voice around online networking, which is like, you keep spreadsheets and data about your connections.
No, you see what someone's doing online, if they have something special happening or a sick parent or whatever it is, and like, can you check in? But the reciprocity of Cal Newport, like, was because I was introducing this guy to other writers. Maybe they weren't as big as Cal Newport, but he was like he really appreciated it. So he returned the favor, like, no questions asked, return favor. So it's like, it didn't feel like a transaction, like it's like nothing is. As soon as I smell transactional, yeah, I'm kind of out of there.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful final message, actually, and I love that you do share more on that in the book, because I think it's something a lot of people struggle with. Like, what should it feel like to build connections and to reach out to people? Like, what do I have to offer? Do I have something to offer? No, people like to connect with like-minded people. We like to have conversations, especially in this online space, right? A lot of our real friends, our family, they don't get what we are doing here on the internet. Like,
yeah,
because it's weird to do something online. Most people have normal jobs. They're not into content creation and writing books or doing all the kind of work that we do. So like, a lot of us, we really do appreciate when we have people we can talk to who get what we are saying, who are speaking the same language in this online space. And I said it in the beginning, but I'll say it again. I'm forever grateful for the connection that we have built all these years ago, because it's been an encouragement for me. Like, up until you reached out to me, it was not on my mind that I could talk to other writers and I could connect with them and have conversations. I was just doing what I thought I should be doing, and I was churning out content. I was like, analyzing stats and data. That was in the front, but I was not having those meaningful and like really nice conversations with so many people that I do have now, and it's been an incredible enrichment. I honestly don't think I would have kept doing this for so long if it wouldn't be so much fun as well. Like, at some point, I think it would have sucked.
Yeah, you got to keep it fun. And I think my proudest thing as a writer is, I think prior to that group, like, there weren't a lot of those, of like writing groups together. Like, there were, but not online for like, so like medium type platforms. Like, and it was like, that is like, I see so many now, and I can't get into a lot of them. like, it's like, but I've been doing this for like 7 years. But like, yeah, it's like, I disappeared for 2 years, but I promise I'm cool. But that thing though, of seeing writers working together and stuff is like, that's how you're going to last. That's how you're going to avoid burnout. Like, if you do burn out, you're with friends. But keeping it fun is massive for just about anything. And generally that's like ideas and people. And if you combine like ideas and people, even better,
Great final note. Ideas and people. Well, thank you so much for taking time and for sharing your,
Yeah.
I want to say wisdom, but also like just the shitty behind the scenes with us. I think that's more valuable than wisdom and lessons learned, honestly. I'm looking forward to having your book here somewhere in the back. Maybe your book makes it right next to the Taylor record.
I was gonna say in front of Taylor's, like just once, just
not
one
in
day.
front of it. Not in front of it, but maybe next to it. And yeah, like grab Shy by Design. I had the pleasure of reading some of the chapters. I loved it. It was months ago, but I remember exactly what I read, and yeah, I'm so much looking forward to seeing all those face covered selfies.
Yeah, I hope I can get that to spread. Like, I wish I'd thought of it. Like, a friend had sent me one. Like, and I was like, "Do you think it's a good idea of everyone?" He's like, "That could work." Like, I think he was nudging me, like, "You should do this." And I was like, I wish I thought of that a couple months ago to like prep people, but I'm gonna blast it out my newsletters and social media and stuff. So maybe I'll use kids in the picture a bit so people can engage with it on LinkedIn. Like, no, I'm kidding.
I just want to say, what's the best platform to post those photos if someone does get the book? It's LinkedIn, right?
LinkedIn, and if you're on Substack, yeah, LinkedIn's the big one, just because it's more like a lot of this too. It's like, it's not for like just university grad, like young professionals, but it is more like it's a professional personal development book but it's very much a how like what I learned and not a how to. So it's like 12 principles, but the whole point of the principles is to encourage you to figure out your own principles, like to inspire you to figure out like steal what works and get rid of. Like if 7 principles are awful for you, great, take the 5.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn, Substack, I think, is where I'm going to be publishing like going forward. What's a medium? Like it depends on what I'm writing. But in terms of communication, like LinkedIn, say hi, like I'm on there. My clients are on there, so you can drop me a message and I'll get back pretty quickly.
I'll just put up your LinkedIn in the
I was
chat as well for anyone who wants to. Okay, there are 8,500 Michael Thompson profiles.
I got you. This may be the only time I'm faster with you in navigating the internet, if my computer works.
No, I was faster.
It's funny, my laptop that I wrote the book on, I think it died this morning, so it's good timing.
Okay, yeah, your LinkedIn is up in the comments for anyone who wants to connect with Michael. Do it on LinkedIn.
Come say hi.
His book, send us a selfie, and yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us live. Thank you for your time, Michael. I'm looking forward to the book and to the next one next year. Keep us up to date.
Thanks, Sinem. Thank you for your time again. Like, this is one of my favorite places to come into, and I'm like happy to come back anytime.
Awesome. We'll talk about how the first like half a year, 6 months after publishing your book went. I think that would be really amazing towards the end of the year to have a recap. Like, share with us what you enjoyed, what you hated, what you would do differently looking back. Once the book has been out for a couple of months, I think there's gonna be a lot of funny stories that you can share with us.
We'll see how it's doing. If it's not doing good, I'm not going to be online. So
go
my validation is tied to the opinions of others, sadly.
Please everyone, pre-order the book.
Thank you,
don't
everyone.
Make him go offline.
Yeah. It depends how many people buy the book now, but yeah, I think it'll be all right. Like, I like the book and I'm critical of myself, so I think that's a good signal. I had friends who were like, "You're gonna hate it when you're done," like like, and I read it and I'm like, "This is pretty. Like, this is what this is the book I would have written." So there's nothing. Like, I'm actually pretty happy with it.
That's a good sign. That's a great sign. All right, take care. Thank you for being here.